Hello, and welcome to Rock Your Block, where we outreach and highlight community impact. I'm your host, Larry Laws. On today's segment of First Home Alliance, our special guest serves as treasurer of the board of directors of Friends of Urban Agriculture. The organization was initiated and started as a nonprofit in 2019, where she served as its first president. She also coordinates the Plot Against Hunger Garden at First Presbyterian Church of Arlington, and has been involved in planning and coordinating the Wednesday night garden talks at Central Library. She recruits and coordinates the English as a Second Language program at First Presbyterian Church of Arlington, which serves about 40 students during the fall and winter semesters. Her professional career was mostly with the state of Michigan, first in the legislative, research, and later as a certified public accountant in various state agency accounting functions. She and her husband, Greg, moved to Arlington in 2009 to be near their son and family. She grew up on a mid-Michigan dairy farm where fresh garden vegetables are preserved for the winter. She also is an avid reader and walker and has logged many miles on her bike. Please welcome to our show, Miss Audrey Morris. Audrey, thank you for coming in today.
Sure thing.
Yes. Well, you're here today, and I want you to just speak to us today and let our audience get to know a little bit more about you.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, you've already told a lot. Right now, we moved back to the Virginia area. We had been here earlier for a little while, but we moved back to Arlington so we could be with our son in 2009, and our two wonderful grandchildren, and our wonderful daughter-in-law and son also. So and I got involved with the Urban Agriculture Task Force that the Arlington County had set up in 2012. And that was a great experience. It introduced me to a lot of people involved with urban agriculture in Arlington.
Okay.
And so gardeners are nurturing people. They're wonderful to be around.
Yes, yes. And so you're from Michigan.
Yes, right.
Where about did you
The Lansing area, and
yes.
I went to Michigan State University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and tell us a little bit about being around the ranch or the farm.
Well, a farm is dairy farm. Both sides of the family had dairy farms, and there was always, of course, the vegetable gardens, and we could go enjoy all. Well, when growing up, I didn't do a lot of the work, but I certainly enjoyed the food and appreciate the help that it's given me ongoing. Yes. And like you said, freezing and canning were part of the process.
Yes.
Too.
Well, I'm from Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And so my dad was a sharecropper, and so the vegetables and fruits and things like that. Tell us a little bit about the canning. Do you recall doing the canning, or did you help out with that?
Somewhat picking vegetables and stuff. Some of the processing, but I remember my mom using an old pressure cooker with a gauge. Did your parents?
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember her sending me out of the house because she didn't totally trust it to not blow up.
Right.
So that was a weird feeling. But anyway, it was great. There were chickens on her parents' farm, and so that was part of the experience also. Yes.
And so coming up with that background, but you also worked as a CPA. And transitioning, I think, how long were you actually in the office doing I guess the 9 to 5 with the State Department?
With the state?
Yes.
Let me see. I was doing, I started in '83 actually working as an accountant, and I became a CPA shortly thereafter with the Department of Treasury. And we audited local governments, which was a really great experience. And then I got into other aspects. So that was until I retired about 2002.
Okay. And so you was able to use those skills to actually help set up the organization here in Arlington. And so tell us a little bit about getting the organization established.
Well, it was actually, the idea to form it was a woman named Kim Hahn at the Department of Parks and Recreation with Arlington County. And so we started in March of 15, just as under the Department of Parks and Recreation more. And then, as you said, by 2019, we had done some of the basics, formed a bylaw, got a basic website, got the email addresses, all some of those things, and some activities going. And then in 2019, we became a nonprofit, which freed us to do more things also.
Yes.
And so we've been growing ever since, but we're still an all-volunteer board, so we have to watch that we don't overcommit, which is hard to do.
Yes, that's true. Yes. And so, so it's a working board. It sounds like the board not only just sit in a position, you have to actually work.
Yes.
And so are there any paid positions, any paid staff?
Not at all, not at this point. It's just aspiration.
Okay, all right. So you have a volunteer board, but do you also have opportunity for others to come in and volunteer that not necessarily serve on the board?
Absolutely, we do. We're involved with various gardens. We have a school garden initiative. School gardens have trouble continuing. There can be parents who get a garden going, they're very enthusiastic about it, then their children move on to another level of school and they're gone. What happens? Or even over the summer, who's going to care for a garden over the summer? There are a lot of challenges, and so they're trying to make gardens more sustainable and get more communication going between the school gardens at various schools within the district.
Okay. And you also, is there a couple of the other churches in the area that actually participate with gardens?
Right, a number of churches, because churches do tend to have open property, which is a rarity, getting more and more of a rarity in Arlington. So in Arlington, there is, the biggest garden is at St. Andrew's Episcopal, which is on Military Road and Lorcom Lane at the corner. They have a 6,000 square foot garden.
Okay.
So they really produce. And at our church, I coordinate a garden that's got about 600 square feet of growing space. So I have to use really intense methods, grow vertically as much as possible, for instance. And there are other churches too that have Plot Against Hunger is a program that we're under, Plot Against Hunger Gardens.
Right, okay. And what about Rock Spring? Do y'all do some activities there at that location as well?
Rock Spring has been just wonderful. A little backstory, Arlington Food Assistance Center, or AFAC to make it simpler.
Okay.
The Plot Against Hunger program started with them by a wonderful woman named Pooin Lee, and she grew it. Her first goal was to get people to give their excess garden produce to AFAC so they could in turn distribute it to clients.
Yes.
And at that point it was mainly non-perishable goods, canned goods, etc., that were available to the clients. So it was a real boon. And then it expanded to gleaning, going out and harvesting in fields and orchards to get more food. And then you can get larger quantities at that point. And they go to farmers markets at the end of the market day.
Yes.
And take the produce that farmers figure they can't sell and they don't want to take back home, which turns out to be a lot of pounds. And then grocery stores to get foods that are dating out, so including produce, not just canned goods and so on. And so, which are of course not as fresh as something that was picked today and it's distributed to clients tomorrow.
Correct. Yes. And so how are individuals able to, come and pick up these items? How do you?
Well, we don't deal ourselves directly with the clients.
Okay.
Yeah, Plot Against Hunger became a program under Friends of Urban Agriculture after COVID hit.
Okay.
And it didn't fit AFAC's model. For once, they couldn't have volunteers in close quarters getting all that produce ready for the clients. So they had to do a lot of things differently. But Plot Against Hunger volunteers just continued it. So we went to Rock Spring Church, which wanted their facility used for something good during COVID. And they have a nice big social hall. So it took there may be 5 to 6 volunteers in the room, but they could spread out their tables and wearing masks. It was a safe, nice, safe place to be, and a lot of them, of course, volunteers tend to be, a lot of them are senior citizens.
Oh, yeah.
So even more important to avoid that COVID thing.
True.
And that church this is the 3rd year now that has been our produce donation center.
Okay.
So they have been wonderful. And Becky Halby, who's part of that church, coordinated that program and ran a big food garden at a school for 2 solid years. So she's
okay,
wonderful
super.
too.
All right. Yes. So it's great to hear about some of the other churches in the area. And right after the break, we're going to talk more about the church that you attend.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. We're about to take a short break. But before we go, I would like to remind you that First Home Alliance is a HUD-approved housing counseling agency serving the National Capital Area. If you're a first-time home buyer or a homeowner in need of mortgage assistance, please visit the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development website to find a HUD-approved agency in your area. We'll be right back after the break. Stay tuned.
With First Home Alliance, a little bit about First Home Alliance. We are a HUD-approved housing counseling agency that was established in 2002 by our executive director, Larry Law. He established the nonprofit. He established it because his mother purchased her first home at the age of 65. And everyone was like, how did you do that? Because her income was really low. And so that's how he found out about the USDA program. And so through the USDA program, his mother was able to purchase her first home and intrigued him to see how he could help individuals basically experience the American dream of homeownership. So he established the nonprofit. Mission is to increase home ownership to low to moderate income families. And so what does First Home Alliance do?
Welcome back. You're watching Rock Your Block. I'm your host, Larry Laws of First Home Alliance. If you're just now tuning in, we're joined today with Miss Audrey Morris of Friends of Urban Agriculture in Arlington, Virginia. Arlington, Virginia.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Audrey, you were speaking of a lot of different other churches and gardens in the area. Let's talk about the First Presbyterian Church that you attend.
Sure.
Yes. And so what are y'all doing there in reference to food and hunger?
Well, I mentioned our Plot Against Hunger there
Yes.
garden. It happens to be right by a fence for a playground that's
Yes.
used by the community, but it's also used by we have a early Head Start program at the
Okay.
church, which is fun. And the little kids will come in and they'll say, "What you doing?"
Oh, yeah.
Hi. Or one boy who just kept saying, "Hi, hi." And so they make it fun.
Yes.
And you get to talk to people that pass by. Of course, some vegetables occasionally go missing too, unfortunately. But that's
Okay.
life in a public garden.
That's true. That's true. Yes.
Yep.
They can't wait to harvest. They want to get a little early.
Yes, and and the food pantries are there hopefully to help people, but I just hope they're hungry if they're taking
Yes.
it.
Yes. Satisfying a need.
Yes.
Yes. And so, what are some of the other programs that the church offers?
The church has a large Meals on Wheels program, which they managed to figure out during COVID also to keep going. And there's Arlington Thrive is housed at our church. They used to be called Arlingtonians Meeting Emergency Needs, which is kind of long, but they do things like if a person all at once, somebody gets sick, they can no longer afford the rent, they need somebody to cover the rent, or they need a car repair done so they can drive to their job, various things like that. If they don't get that little help at the right time, they could be homeless, and then it's really difficult to get life back in gear. Correct. And also it's expensive for society as a whole. Then during COVID, they really started focusing, of course, a lot on rent assistance and to help keep people in their residences, which was the big thing. So they've expanded, or got a network of Arlington churches going again too, which is great.
Yes. Yes, and very important, because I guess it's food, shelter, and clothing, some of the basic needs.
Yes.
And so if they have some relief in reference to food and clothing, then maybe they can help pay the cost of their living.
Right.
But it
yes.
seems that you all actually giving them the awareness of some of those avenues for assistance with rent as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. And I understand you all have the English as a second language. There.
Yes, we have a program there with classes. We do beginning, intermediate, and advanced classes. We have about 40 students a semester that enroll, and as you said, we have fall and winter semesters, and then sometimes some of the classes do a brief summer or spring semester.
Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, when that hit all at once, our spring semester was not quite, or winter semester was not quite done. It was in March. And so we all at once, most of the classes stopped, but the intermediate class, they went online. They went on Zoom and kept it going. And so we used that model in the fall. We got Zoom accounts, and for 2 years, we've basically been on Zoom, except that our beginning class this last fall and winter, we had in person. It's very difficult for beginners. First of all, they're just doing it on their cell phone, not on a computer screen.
Yes.
And understanding the technology might be very difficult and all. So we did that, but really hoping to get in person this fall.
Yes. Yes. And you say normally you have about 40 students.
Mm-hmm.
And how long is a semester?
10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Yes, we have classes. One series of classes that are Monday and Thursday nights in the evening, 7 to 9. And then there's another series that are on Saturdays only from 10 to 12.
Okay. And what do you recruit your students?
We're in the Ballston area, and we're right on Carlin Springs, which has a lot of traffic, so we put up banners to let people know. And then we also advertise like on Nextdoor and other places. We used to try to get things on bulletin boards. Maybe we can start doing that again if people are going inside and seeing bulletin boards. Mm-hmm. So also I let the school contacts that I have, there's the social workers at the school that would know families, maybe there's parents there that would like to learn some English.
Okay. Is there a cost for them to attend?
There is. It's minimal. And if we get any inkling that they can't, that paying is difficult, we say, we have scholarships. And
that's great.
Yes, and so that we don't want to keep anybody out of it
Yes.
at all, but we do have some expenses. So.
Okay. And do you have some other community partners that help you with either running the program or recruiting?
We are part of a larger organization. The acronym is eslim.org. Thank goodness, because it's English as a Second Language and Immigrant Ministries.
Okay.
So you gotta love acronyms, right? And they have programs all run in churches, and they're all volunteer run. In Northern Virginia now, there's a couple in DC also. Mm-hmm. And of course, a number of them just quit during COVID, and now some of them went on to Zoom, and now more and more are going back in person. So there were like about 19 programs when COVID hit. So but to find out classes, it's easy. It's just eslim.org. That's the website. So.
Yes, and so when you was doing the classes in person, and so actually you have the facilities there at on the church grounds.
At the church, yes. We do have church classroom kind of things, which are only needed on Sundays for Sunday school, so classes. So and we have some other groups, like an AA group, for instance, and some other 12-step groups that meet there too. So. But we're able to get classroom space so we can do that.
Okay. And what are some of the any success stories?
There's a couple. I mean, I said we have early Head Start. Well, there's a woman that used to be cleaning our church. She started going to our classes, and now she's working at Head Start.
Oh,
she's
great.
one of the teachers at Head Start. So it's nice. And there's another guy, Mohammed from Sudan, and when he came in the advanced class, so he knew some, and he was also asked us other questions besides attending classes. Like he wanted to know about the GRE exam, and he didn't know there was a study guide. And so we try to help in ways that we can. And he said, I so much appreciate it. I'm going to do something for the church. And now he's back. He's a teacher. He's a beginning teacher, and which is really nice. It's rich because you have people there. Like last semester, there's a woman that was applying for her green card. You know, I mean, he can really understand the immigrant position.
Yes.
And some of our students, I mean, when did you arrive? Last week. You know, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but it's good, you know, and you know, they say when in reference to testimonial, you don't have a testimony unless you've been tested. So they asking through testing,
That's a good-
and then they can share their apply.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, so you're well, and so you have family in the area, and the family participate in any things that you're doing there?
Well, my husband and I both started with the ESL program at the church. We happened to move in across the parking lot from the church, so we just kind of fell into it.
Okay.
They were great people. So from the beginning he was teaching, and now he's teaching advanced all the time.
Great.
And then I was helping run the program, and then I became a coordinator, so I've been coordinating it for several years. So, and our ESLIM, that organization helps recruit teachers, and they'll refer them to us if they want to be in the Arlington area. We're the only program in Arlington itself.
Yes.
And so it's been a really good thing.
Oh, that's
yeah, and our son and wife in Falls Church. The grandkids now are like almost 13 and almost 15. So it's been a really great being with them, and they're really great and supportive.
That sounds good. And so, if you have any last words for the audience in reference to outreach or any volunteer opportunities?
Well, absolutely. We have opportunities to volunteer for ESL. You can be a teacher. You could contact eslim.org, and there's a place for volunteers there. Or with Friends of Urban Agriculture, we have opportunities to help in gardens and to help at this Rock Springs Church Bagging Center, to go out in fields and glean, maybe help us with events. So there are definitely opportunities. So, and it's arlingtonurbanag.org.
All right. Well, thank you, Audrey, and thank you for coming in and sharing that great information with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate
Right.
it.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Audrey Morris and found it to be empowering. For more information about Audrey and the amazing work of Arlington Friends of Urban Agriculture, please visit their website at arlingtonurbanag.org. Now it's time to check our inbox to see how we can help rock your block. This is where we share recent questions sent to us from you, our viewing audience, about financial stability and housing. Today's question comes from Springfield, Virginia. What should I do first to reduce my debt? That's a good question. We must all start somewhere. I would suggest you start first with establishing a savings. Our organization recently was approved for the Virginia Housing Credit Improvement Program. Reducing debt and improving credit scores is what this program is all about. However, before you concentrate on reducing debt and improving your credit, we'd like to start with establishing a savings plan. You must first save so that you have money to pay off debt. I'm Larry Laws of First Home Alliance, and it's been my pleasure sharing with you our mission and highlighting the impact of our services. If you have questions about financial fitness or how we can help make your dream of homeownership a success, send your question to our inbox and tune into our next show to see if your question was selected to be shared with our audience. You can easily get more information about our services by visiting us on the web at firsthomealliance.org. Thank you for watching today's segment of First Home Alliance, and join us next time to rock your block.
Glad to know that, some of this stuff about credit and buying houses is written down somewhere. a lot of the times it's always hearsay, like other friends or family members who have bought houses before, but they can never, tell you legit what you need to get done and do before buying a house.
I definitely think this class should be required for all first home buyers because a lot of times the real estate agent doesn't explain the process to you. So I think this is very important.
It's from the credit up to receiving a loan, and the most important thing is the process that you go through when you're buying the house, and there are a lot of process which you don't have idea about that before you take this class.
Speakers who came up and spoke about each section, they were very knowledgeable in their field, and I felt like it was relatable. They didn't just throw out a whole bunch of terms that went over my head, but they really explained it in a way to where I understood it, and I could even explain it to my children, and it was even easier for me to take home and kind of remember and process and apply to my next steps. The process was amazing.
They start first with the class before even finding a lender or agent. So I did all that and I wasn't able to purchase, and then I was like, oh, you know what, there's a lot of information I'm not aware of. Let me just start from the beginning, to put everything on hold. Start from the
Piecing the information together, because you've heard things about the loans and about this and about the credit, but this is like a summary, and it just gives a clear flow of where to go with what you have and kind of building up a plan. So that kind of gives me a whole picture of where I needed to go and how to get there.